All right. It happened. They haven't kicked us off. We're still here, ready to work. Salutations, my friends. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer. And this is show number 1536, season 15, episode 36. And I have titled this episode, Political Eruption, Kill Switches Engaged in Anti-ICE Zones. It literally looks like America is under attack from within. You've got Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson basically saying that, hey, we're going to have anti-ICE zones, massive mobs of protesters showing up, reports of police officers being blocked in with people with assault rifles, $10,000 bounties on agents. It's getting crazy out there. We take a look inside of Antifa hideouts, locations. I think this one's over here in Bend, Oregon. It literally looks like America is under attack from within. It's as if they not necessarily flipped the kill switch, but that's basically what it is. I mean, we're going to be talking more so about the genetic experiment that a vast amount of the population went over later on. That's the kill switch, but it's like a light switch, man. Absolutely crazy. Just last week we put out a video clip in our Instagram story where we were talking just casually about practicing spiritual hygiene, and you guys kind of saw me freak out about that last week. And it's just crazy to see how much has escalated in a single week and how much more we can expect. And I'll be 1,000% honest with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. I think a lot of this stuff needs to go ahead and happen. I think that for years, we've kind of been trying to put it off. We've been trying to raise awareness. We've been looking at it in so many different ways that we are hitting the point in the event horizon where a lot of this stuff has to happen. We got to have people that are just like, we have to have this like chaos. We have to have this unrest. And we won't be able to put that genie back in the bottle. And that's what this is all really about. Like at the end of the day, when we really just kind of throw the cards out there, this is a part of the level up. This is a part of the event horizon. This is a part of the New World Order. This is all having to happen. This is trumping in the technocracy, all of these things and so much more. It's got to happen. We cannot stay in this position of just like political ambiguity, confusion to where people aren't saying, hey, we worship Satan. We want to chop our child's genitals off, right? We want to connect ourselves to the cloud. We cannot stay in this like gray zone. We got to have people out there that are just like, death to white people, death to black people, death to the human race. We got to have these people openly declaring what they say, because we've got 15 plus seasons of tracking them down, trying to get them to admit it. And now it's just out here in the open. Now these people are telling you who they are, what their mission is, and what they have planned for you, you see. So we have a very information-packed transmission, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of different things to get into, a lot of different things unfolding. But let me go ahead and start this off with the quick intro, and then we will get the update started and kick this show off. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise, patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation in this current configuration. And you've heard me say that because I'm alluding to things that are going to take place with season 20 or season 16, and even the introduction of a couple new features, shows, and things like that. Make sure you're paying attention to the Instagram. We're going to be doing a lot more, as well as to the Twitter. It's going down. Okay, it's going down. You got cops being shot. You got politicians being assassinated. You got influencers being murdered in front of millions, thousands. Right? It's all going down. And so if all these things, they have to happen in order to unfold what's coming next. And that's why I just keep saying, pay attention to what we're doing right now. If you've been listening consistently and you understand, just patreon.com/noise. I'm not going to allude to anything else. I'm going to start putting some stuff into play. And if you're with us, great. If not, you'll get what you get. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation in this current configuration. We have a lot of different things planned for season 16. I would like to have you guys come with us. If not, we totally understand. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support us. Again, you get access to over 500 plus episodes, right? Because we've been doing this for quite some time. 500 plus episodes that are available on Spreaker, Amazon, iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa. This is because we had to switch from Blog Talk Radio, which was our primary podcast distribution platform for years. Like we were one of their, it's crazy when you look back at the UI, the user interface, like what it used to look like, the same way when you used to look at YouTube, right? And Instagram, how cheesy it looks. People don't really understand that, man. Like there's more to the internet than social media, but we're now dealing with like a brain dead, cognitively bankrupt, instant gratification, addicted society that wants to see stuff happen. And you really have to think about what that looks like when kids don't want to be like doctors, scientists, engineers, technicians, because AI took those jobs and they want to become these personalities on the social media platforms. That's not what this was started as. When this started, we weren't really here like trying to look for fame, clout, money. That infrastructure wasn't there. We had a genuine curiosity about the world, secret societies, black operations, the Illuminati, paranormal, supernatural, and all that stuff has exploded in the 15 seasons. And I really think about that, like, wow, we really have been a part of this explosion of what we now call social media, simply by just doing podcasting. Back whenever Instagram first rolled out, back whenever Fedbook rolled out, back whenever YouTube and MySpace were a thing, and we've grown with the times. We've had to survive and dodge censorship and deplatforming. And I think when people hear that, they just kind of get they get turned off by it. That's old man stuff. That's old news. And to a degree, they're right. But that's what I'm talking about. That's the pedigree. We're into a different age now. Whenever you have people creating like ICE apps to track whenever ICE is located, and then you have swarming mobs of people just show up on command, that's like some weird proto-Borg, transhuman, hive mind type stuff that was not there a couple years ago. But here we are, right? So we're not talking about mind control. We're talking about mob mentality, sociology, social engineering, and what social media has done over these years. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support us because we continue to do it. Again, for 500 plus more episodes. Again, we've been able to recover our YouTube channel from 2014, YouTube/noise era, as well as our backup channel. We're broadcasting on Odyssey as well. We have content that goes back to 2018, which is like season 6. It's crazy, bro. Again, you guys can find the links to our Discord, Telegram, Instagram. Like I said, we're posting again, and we're going to be doing more, right? Because this harmony, this synergy, this like composing of consistent content on all these different platforms, like there's just different mentalities on all of them. I'll say this, and I'll do a little quick shill, and then I'll jump into the show. But you have to think about it. We're learning that Etsy has witches, right? If Instagram has models, X has alternative right, neo-Nazis, Fedbook has old folks, TikTok has TikTok dancers, Etsy has crafters and witches. these Discord has, its own category of individuals as well, as well as like 4chan. These different personalities types, the same way we're able to break them down. The technocrats, the scientific dictatorship, the Illuminati, the people in the background are able to look at all of these different components of society and mix and match them. You got to think about how sophisticated society is and how dumb we've become making everything else smart. But again, patreon.com/noise, that's the best way to support us. You can also support us through Coffee, PayPal, as well as through Cash App. I'm just going to be 1,000% honest with you guys. I'm going to start putting more content on those platforms, right? Like we'll still have things that we're doing on Instagram and whatnot. And I think it's harder for us to operate in our capacity as we used to be because of how fast things are developing now. Twitter is much faster than Instagram, right? People have a nostalgic approach or a nostalgic appreciation for the format that we used to have, but the rapidity and the volume of content and the nature of where we are these days, it's very hard for your boy to keep up unless I'm like AI or something. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later on, not necessarily in this show, but with the overall development of the show and everything else. New Leaf Naturals, again, you guys can support yourself and us, a 360 win, promo code FOF25. Get yourself some storable goods. Like you see these people over here throwing up mobs, bro. Do you think they'll come after you if they figure out that you have money and you have food and you have assets? Get it while you can. And don't tell people you have it. That's the other thing. Get it and just chill on it. Anyway, let's go ahead and kick this show off. We'll start this off with the world of signs, bringing us in with some of the more anomalous weather events that we see taking place. And with that being said, we'll pick it up on the other side.
น้ำแตกลงเลยโอ้ยถล่มดินถล่มหมดเลยไฟดับแน่อุ้ยนะถนนซุดเลยเนี่ยเยอะเลย เสาไฟฟ้าไฟดับแน่
That's beautiful. Meteorites over Indonesia. Where is this? This looks like something out of a movie. Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. Literally erupting on the 1st of October. It's intense. Cao Nguyen in Vietnam on the 6th of October, experiencing some severe flooding. This time over here in Bulgaria, Burgas on the 3rd of October, also having severe flooding. Cars being swept down the street as entire roads are flooded. Ships capsizing against the rocks in China. Typhoon Matmo, literally ripping roofs off of buildings. Giant sinkholes in Ban Ran, Vietnam.
Sau giờ như kiểu đất đá xuống là nó nổ xuống bom bom bom.
Some crazy looking wind column. Oh, look at that. It's going to connect with the sky. It's like a typhoon wind column funnel in Puerto Rico, in Guayata on the 5th of October. See, look at there it is. They're connecting the ground funnel and the top funnel. That's incredible. It is again. There it is again. The same thing being shown in Apulia, Italy on the 3rd of October. Volcanoes in Guatemala erupting on the 5th of October. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The world of science. And it is the sign of his return. It is the sign of the return of Jesus Christ. It's crazy to see, again, all these things continue to unfold. That's why it's like when we get to the later parts of the show and we're talking about immigration and what's going on over here in America, it's like, no, not at all. I'm not. I know for sure sometimes I might come off as like a little racist and xenophobic. Maybe I need to travel more. But this is me saying I have appreciation for all these different cultures and things that we see every single week on the show, every single day. It's like what the new Japanese prime minister, she's basically saying keep Japan Japanese. Absolutely. Because if you look at all the footage and stuff that's coming out of there, you know, you've got like a lot of people from different nationalities not respecting the culture. The point I'm trying to make is, and we'll talk about that later on in the show, is just like, look at what is happening worldwide. Geopolitically, with the weather as well, the environment, and how it all affects us. How we are really all just one big organism. And we do all come from the same place, and we're going to the same place too. We're all going to die the same. And, you know, I look at all these things happen, and it blows my mind, man. It blows my mind. And it is the ebb and flow of nature. Like over here, sometimes they'll call it El Nino and El Nina. Sometimes we'll have like a heavy, like monsoon season, and then we'll have like a dry season. And them jacking with things. But realize it's not climate change as they tell you. It is more of like a cyclical, environmental type deal. That's why I tell you, like, if you really go down the rabbit hole of the flat earth and the plane that we live on, like, look at that. Look at that rainbow. That's what I'm talking about. That's most likely, you know, it's because of the dome, it's because of the light, it's because of the spectrum, it's because of the environment. We've been lied to about a lot of different things. Our history, our identity, our politics, we're lied to every single day. You know, that's why they say the truth will set you free. What are you looking to understand? Are you trying to understand yourself? Are you trying to understand the environment? Are you trying to understand the time, the age that we are in, the age that we left? And these things are important. They're not just words. It is like the shifting of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. It is them jacking with history, adding thousands of years on, rewriting books. It is them changing and distorting time. You need to understand these things. It's not as simple as they make it out to be. But again, I see all these things happening in like an increased capacity, knowing what's coming next. And it's weird because we talk about it every single week. We talk about it specifically when we look at the work of Catherine Austin Fitts, where she talks about these 170 different military underground bases, how we know that the elites are preparing for some extinction level style event, that something is supposed to take place in the year 2027. We know about the FEMA zones. We know about all these different things. The North American Union. We know about all these different configurations and things that are going to unfold. We know about COG, the continuity of government. We know about globalism, the San Andreas fault line. All of these things are going to take place, as you see everything else taking place as well. Let's proceed. Chemtrails vanish overnight as government shutdown exposes the secret spying or the secret spraying program. This comes from Baxter Dimitri of the People's Voice. They put this up October 7th. It says, for decades, Americans have sprayed from above, or have been sprayed from above. The government and its contractors have filled our skies with chemical aerosols known as chemtrails in a covert program of weather manipulation and population control. Now, for the first time in years, the evidence is undeniable. In the past 48 hours, since the federal government shutdown began, the spraying has ground to a halt. The grids are gone. The skies are clear. Across the U.S., social media has erupted with photos of deep blue skies, uninterrupted horizons, and normal cloud formations. The heavy crisscrossing grids of white lines that many had grown used to seeing are suddenly gone. Coincidence? Or has the shutdown actually revealed something officials don't want you to notice? When Congress failed to pass a budget and the federal government officially shut down, thousands of federal employees were furloughed. Critical programs are paused, contracts suspended, and routine operations halted. Most Americans only felt it in delayed paperwork and closed parks. But what if one of the, quote, paused operations was a clandestine aerial program? If the chemicals were nothing more than a harmless condensation trails, why would their sudden disappearance coincide with a pause in government activity? Are the private contractors who manage these alleged programs depending on federal funding and coordination? Says that Twitter, Telegram, and Instagram are filled with side-by-side comparisons of the same areas before and after the shutdown. Kansas, Texas, and the Midwest show crystal clear skies. Even urban hubs like Los Angeles and New York, long plagued by checkboard clouding, are reporting an absence of persistent trails. Have you guys noticed that in your area? Have you guys been having clear skies? Have you? Over here, it's been raining a heck ton. And I'm asking myself, are we going to have a very heavy winter? Is it going to start snowing? All kinds? Like, what's going to happen? And this, if anything, is a perfect example of what I'm talking about by like the ricochet effect. Yes, it's good that they stop the spraying, but think about the stabilization after that. We've been destabilized. They've been jacking with things. Think of it as like a body, a system. What's it going to look like as it tries to find harmony again? Let's go ahead and proceed forward to this quick little news report from GBN News talking about weather modification. And it looks like they may have run into Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. Let's go ahead and pick this up and we'll catch you guys on the other side.
Easy cranks and conspiracy theorists who were concerned about chemtrails and weather modification, well, you might have been proven right after all. I've just come out the most extraordinary 2-hour congressional hearing here at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. on that very, very topic. Experts all agreeing weather modification, cloud seeding, chemtrails, it's real. Here's what happened.
My written testimony goes into detail explaining my decision to join more than 500 other scientists and academics from around the world to call for a solar engineering non-use agreement. I'll just briefly state first, the understandings are not sufficiently developed to know what the outcomes would be, and unintended consequences are almost certain to happen. Second, our 70-year history with weather modification should give us some humility in thinking that we can understand what the consequences might be. We've been trying to modify the weather for 70 years, and we don't know if we're modifying the weather. And finally, we have one Earth, and experimenting on it carries considerable risks. I have likened geoengineering to risky gain-of-function research on viruses with uncertain benefits and catastrophic risks.
Now, the federal government has been involved in cloud seeding since the 1940s. Using the planet as a test monkey for emerging technologies poses all sorts of risks. Among these that have been highlighted by the EPA are stratospheric ozone depletion, acid rain, and reduced crop yields. There's also the question of whether such large-scale climate interventions is even necessary given the uncertainties regarding climate change.
For years, anybody who questioned weather modification was labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. Now we've learned that they've been doing it for decades. One geoengineering company called Make Sunsets injects aerosol into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. I want to show you their frequently asked questions. Why? It says, unless we reflect sunlight, tens of millions of people will die and 20% of species may go extinct. These climate activists have come so far that they are actively trying to inject chemicals into the air to block the rays of the sun from hitting the earth. And they want to take away our God-given rights over the earth in order to satisfy their godless climate cult beliefs. Potentially cooling the earth could also cause people to freeze to death, crops to die, and could literally lead to killing millions and millions of people.
The UK government, unbelievably, has just given £50 million to a firm to research chemtrails and dimming the sun in the UK. This is the moment I caught up with Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene and told her all about what's happening in the UK. We had a company in the UK where the government's just approved a £50 million donation for pretty much chemtrails dimming out the sun in the UK. One of your experts in there said that it was equivalent to the gain of function research on viruses, as we saw during COVID. Do you think the Overton window on this now is shifting, as we saw with COVID?
I certainly hope so. You said that your government approved it?
Yes, they gave them the money, £50 million for research.
So I think that's equivalent to what happened during COVID. I think it's equivalent to mandating experimental vaccines into people's body. And I have deep empathy for the people in the UK. They're not lab rats, and they shouldn't be, and their tax dollars should not be used against them in some sort of basically experimental, what should be taking place in a lab, but it's being done to them without their say, and it's terrible.
Turns out British viewers and indeed Americans weren't cranks and conspiracy theorists about the weather and geoengineering, chemtrails. An extraordinary hearing just now.
Thank you very much. No, they're not conspiracy theorists. They're not crazy. It actually has been happening for a very long time, not just here in the United States, but also in many countries around the world.
Life grows from the sun. What kind of person would want to block out the sun?
Well, my observation, based on my years here in Congress and also this hearing that I thought was exceptional, is there's a big difference between the right and the left. The right primarily believes that God created the earth and that God controls our atmosphere. The left is primarily godless, and they believe that humans can control the climate, can control the weather, and they believe they have the authority to do it no matter what anyone else thinks.
And it was only in April this year that I told viewers of Ben Leo's Tonight back home in the UK that Britain was set to approve funding of up to £50 million for a very strange experiment to dim the sun. Good evening.
Very well done. Very well said from MTG. And I think that's an appropriate way to describe what we're dealing with. This is a transhumanist cult. This is a death cult. This is a godless cult. That thinks they want to play God. And it's not just the modern day left. You've got to think this is what they've evolved into over these years. Like you heard that gentleman say, since 1940s, it's been going on at least since the 1800s, but they've got patents. They've got patents that date all the way back there. I used to have it on our Instagram page, but they've been doing this for quite some time. The scientific elite, as President Eisenhower talked about, he warned about that. And we're living in the echoes of these type of people who have grabbed this power. So yeah, no, she's absolutely correct. We have megalomaniac scientism devouts that want to control the world. They literally want to spray chemicals into the sky to reflect the sunlight because they've been brainwashed and told that the earth is going to die in like 20 or 30 years if they don't hurry up and pay their taxes. You've got to think about how crazy that sounds. And you could go back and go find video clips where we would talk about it and play those video clips of people saying, like, should I kill my child for the earth? We've got people that advocate for that. This is a mind virus, and it stems from just this, from these type of operations, these stratospheric aerosol injections, the geoengineering, the weather modification, the aluminum, the barium, the strontium. And that's just the chemicals. We don't know about the organisms. And as you heard, what was this gentleman's name? Dr. Pike or Pielke Jr., as you heard him talk about, saying we don't know what kind of effects this is going to have on us. But this whole segment, again, because this is just the intro, we've got a lot more to get into. This whole segment is just talking about how they're capturing Earth's resources to set up space-based living. We've got a clip later on in the segment where we've got Jeff Bezos saying that they're going to set up basically like data centers in space. You know, and this is just more evidence of these people trying to get off world. They're going underground, they're going into space so they can jack with the people on the surface. And you see how they're already doing that. That's my whole point behind this part of the show, is explaining that this is an organized and methodical capture, an organized and methodical takedown of the environment, of people's ability to actually be free. I mean, my God, we've already talked this year about how Canada is trying to fine people from going outside. They did this very same thing during COVID. They told you if you went outside and you broke lockdown, they're going to lock you up or they're going to fine you. But again, this is the technocrats. These are the scientific dictatorships. It's these people, the globalists, the techno-communists, that want to seem as if they're altruistic and as if they care about the earth when everything they do is actually destroying it. Let's go ahead and proceed. Here is Gavin Newsom claiming that the fires were started earlier this year, that the fires were started because of climate change, right? The fires were started in the Palisades because of climate change, right? And that's why we've got to do X, Y, and Z in order to fight climate change and set up all of these different pacts so we can steal people's money. We've got to figure out how to fight climate change. Otherwise, more houses are going to burn down. Meanwhile, later on this year, we learned that no, these fires aren't started by climate change. It's by one firebug or an arsonist or a madman actually doing it. Let's listen.
We have to rebuild with science. We have to build with climate reality in mind. And this is the reality, the new reality of extremes, extreme heat, extreme drought. You have droughts and rain bombs. You have flooding at the same time you're dealing with droughts, all happening concurrently. There's a new reality, the world we're living in. And if you're not believing science, you have to believe your own eyes, your own lived experience. We have to wake up to this reality. We cannot be in denial about what's going on with Mother Nature.
I'm proud of the professionalism and dedication shown by our detectives and the team who work collaboratively with our federal, state, and local partners. That teamwork ultimately led to the arrest of the suspect responsible for this devastating crime.
You can't rebuild the same. So we have to rebuild with science. We have to build with climate reality in mind. And this is the reality, the new.
We've got to rebuild with science and climate reality. We've got to make eco-friendly cities, smart cities, so they can hook into the grid. And we can know if you've gone over your carbon rations. So we can know if you've used too much water. So we can know. That's why we've already got BlackRock buying up these power companies. So we can just AI and algorithmically figure out what you're doing. Give you a social credit score system. Demonize you. Meanwhile, it's like actual bad actors that are setting stuff on fire. You see how that works? You see how he's the public face. We know what the plan is, but they've got to get jackbooted thugs and freaks on the streets to actually get out there to go carry out the chaos. And I'm sure we covered it at the time that it was most likely an arsonist, because these things don't happen all of a sudden. It's what these people do. And it's what they're going to continue to do. You see how we have to give over our rights. We have to give over our way of life. We have to rebuild through science and technology and a more climate-friendly and eco-friendly environment. They're going to this is Burning Man. They're going to destroy the environment to do what Joe Biden said, build back better. And that's what I'm talking about. They'll have human domiciles, little areas, little smart cities, collectives. They'll have repurposed deep underground military bases. They'll also have people in space. This is all going to occur. You're going to see it. It's not like it's a fantastical thing. I think that's what's wild now is because we've reached a point in the future where they have the technology, as the gentleman said in the previous video, the Overton window has expanded. People understand what's happening and they want to see it. Let's go. Let's go. Moving forward, but still staying with companies capturing our resources. Earlier this week, there were protesters from New Mexico in New York City protesting Blackstone. It's either Blackstone or BlackRock, but it says Blackstone protesters in New York City protesting. Let's go ahead and listen. Again, this is just big corporations capturing your resources and destroying your environment.
Because the decisions made in Manhattan skyscrapers do not stay in New York. They affect our homes, our lives, and our lives back in New Mexico. Blackstone has no business in our community.
Thank you.
Hey, Blackstone, get off it. Put people over profit. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Blackstone billionaires got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho.
For over a century, New Mexico has been treated as an energy sacrifice.
You will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany.
Enough of billionaires deciding who gets to live and who gets to die.
People who never step foot in our communities will be deciding whether our families can afford to keep the lights on.
You will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct.
Whether our scarce water goes to people or to industry. Whether we transition off of fossil fuels or stay locked into their system of profit and extraction. Our home is not a sacrifice zone. Hey, Blackstone, get off it. Put people over profit. Hey, Blackstone, get off it. Put people over profit.
Blackstone has made billions off of New Mexico while our people live in some of the highest rates of poverty anywhere in the country. We live with the poison water, the contaminated air. They do not.
These CEOs have never stepped foot in our community, nor will they ever be held accountable if this acquisition goes through.
That's it. That's it. They're right. They are absolutely right. You know, they're protesting Blackstone. We're talking about BlackRock. We played the video clip a couple of weeks ago of how they've just done that, how they've come into New Mexico and they've bought up our energy company. And I'm already seeing like a rise in my prices in energy, bro. It's absolutely freaking crazy. And she's right. We got people in high-rise CEO buildings like that making decisions, destroying our company or destroying our state. She's absolutely correct. And we do have one of the highest states of poverty, man. Like I looked it up. It's horrible. It is actually pretty bad out here. I guess I'm just like used to it because of how things are. And it shouldn't be that way. I think that's the other part of it. The same way I'm like, some of this stuff just has to go ahead and happen. We got to have people out here saying like, we're being taken over by corporations. We're losing more of our rights. It's not a left or a right issue. This is a corporatocracy. And they're just like deciding how they can cut up society. And we're sitting here getting mad at one another whenever it's not us, it's them. So is that fascism? I would actually, yes. Like these are legitimate issues that's going to hit every single person. And that's why Gavin Newsom saying, oh, we're going to build back better. We've got to rebuild with science. It's because you've got these people destroying the environment, buying it up on the cheap and doing just what? Either reselling it or just dumping it. And I was talking about it the other week, sunshine states and sinkhole states. You've got states over here where corporations come up and just basically rape us in any which kind of way. We don't have like economic growth. We don't have like a lot of job opportunities. Academia is down. And we're like, oh, well, you know, it's just because they're poor brown people. Really? So because we don't get infrastructure, we don't get money, we just get corporations that get to come here and take up our natural resources and destroy our environment, drive the prices up. And what, I'm just supposed to be all right with that? I'm supposed to be all right with like toxic skies, polluted water, lack of education opportunities, and what? Support just people that want to become corporocrats, technocrats, you see? And so this is actually going on. This is, again, the capturing of the resources. We've got a video clip coming up next from Whitney Webb where she talks just about that, how they're destroying the environment so that they can tokenize it and come up with this weird nature-based economy. And all of this, again, feeds into digital ID, feeds into the social credit score system. It is Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, again, chastising human interaction, saying that no, it's not corporations that are like mass extracting from your communities. No, it's you bad humans, it's you protesters, it's you people that want to have kids. How dare you? You want to have air conditioning? You want to have modern amenities? You want to have children and prosperity? Hell no. You are slated for poverty. You are slated for austerity. And for some people, they're like, oh, I can't even comprehend that. It's because it's a slow thing. Agenda 21 was created in 1992. Then they came out with Agenda 2030, a more updated version, and they have more agendas. These are just the public ones that we know about. And look at how it's already in action. You see? That's why I'm like, what other agendas do you think are unfolding right now? This is why we can't get like locked in on specific issues. We have to look at like the overarching plan of how they are just trying to take over everything, dictate to you what the rules of engagements are, what your quote unquote new rights will be. This is the new world order. Here's Whitney Webb talking about BlackRock and other companies attempting to gain absolute control over the natural world under the guise of saving the planet.
Basically fuel their existing business model and perpetuate it for it seems like in Larry Fink's case in particular, there's a goal, a big ambition there to develop new asset classes that can be used to basically fuel their existing business model and perpetuate it for millennia forward. Mm-hmm. So one of these that I've been writing about for a few years is the whole idea of natural assets, what they call nature's economy. As an asset manager, BlackRock being able to unlock and take control of as many natural assets as possible that aren't currently part of the financial system is obviously a way for them to perpetuate what they do and deepen and expand their control over not just people in the existing financial system, but really over the natural world as well, and essentially turn everything alive into a tradable Wall Street financial product. And the goal, as Fink has stated, is to have all of this on a universal ledger, on blockchain, presumably, and have it be, trackable and surveillable. By having it all surveillable and automated in a sense, he's able to have his risk management AI thing, Aladdin, sort of exercise control over it in unprecedented ways, I think, for their benefit. And then, of course, a lot of what's happening now as we're moving into this new financial governance system is the push to change all of the infrastructure towards this, quote unquote, green model, I guess, or decarbonization, right? Part of the goal of the whole global carbon market thing for them is that it allows them to unlock so many new assets and so much more collateral and so much other stuff to create new debt out of, and to just sort of expand the existing models they use to just unprecedented levels. And sort of perpetuate this into infinity. One of the things too about the natural asset thing, at least as far as the natural asset corporation model is concerned, is that you literally just go into a forest or you go to a river or lake and you identify the natural asset, and then at no cost to you, just after identifying it, you issue shares in the natural asset, a lake, a forest, whatever, and then you sell those shares. I mean, it's literally just pointing out something outside and being like, this is mine, I'm going to fractionalize it and sell it to people. And you're producing money in out of thin air, right, essentially. Yeah. And you're able to do that. I mean, the natural world is vast and huge, and they're doing this, they're financializing it all as framing it as the only way to save the planet. Right. But really it's the only way for them to save their insane debt racket.
That's crazy when you think about it. That they're literally willing to burn and commoditize the entire environment to keep the scam going. And you got to think about that. Nature's economy, like they want to comport the existing financial system and create a whole new class of assets, right? Whole new class of assets. Like air will be its own class of assets. Water will be, and we've heard people talk about this specifically from like the World Economic Forum, where they've said like, oh, we've got to commoditize the water, right? We've got to make it a public commons, right? Like you're thinking about this, you're trying to picture it. You're like, what does this even mean? Well, this is them trying to say, well, how do we have the existing economy where you actually have to buy air, you have carbon credits, you have to buy your existence here, right? So outside of paying like your natural bills, rent, and things such as this, you also have to pay for air. You have to pay for travel, right? Somebody might own that road you're on, right? They might own that ground. They might own that earth. And you're thinking like, that's intense. Like that doesn't make any sense. But this is what these people are trying to do. Again, it's commodifying everything, commoditizing everything. You see, kind of like a name it and claim it type thing. And so that will be a very, very interesting time whenever we begin to see this. But again, this is how these people have set up this scam, set up the game to where we're in hook, line, and sinker. You'll have to pay to live. And they will, again, continue to demonize human activity because it degrades the environment. That affects the value of my assets. That affects the value of my land. You breathing actually brings the quality of my land down. Get off of here. And you'll have weird eco-extremists that do protect the quality and the value of their asset, and then again, demonize human activity. You see? Well, I'm not going to have some family living here. I'm not going to have some people living here. And that's going to be a crazy time frame. But this is where these people are going. That's the global government. That's the one world. That's the biblical one world system, the one world government, the one world religion, and the one world militaristic force. They will come up with a system, as they already have. They've built the framework. Now they've just got to build like the infrastructure, put the people in place, start coming up with the treaties, the goals, and start making these moves. And then all of a sudden, we're inside of their system. You see, here is Jim Ferguson doing a quick breakdown on Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030.
It was agreed to by 179 nations. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. It is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that, sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. Because when systems don't meet, when they're out of balance or not in sync with one another, they can't be controlled centrally. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. Every nation that signed on to Agenda 21 has its local Agenda 21 plan. People in the United States are completely unaware of this. If I go out and talk about this, the United States press attacks me and calls me, it's totally ridiculous. But it's not a theory, it's a fact. The three pillars of United Nations Agenda 21 are economy, ecology, and equity, the 3 E's. And everyone sort of thinks that they know what that means, the idea of social equity. It must mean that, well, everyone's going to have access to clean water and clean air, and no one's property is going to be used as a dumping ground because they are at a poverty level. But really what social equity is about impoverishing huge portions of the population and bringing down the developed nations. Everything that we're looking at now is destined to collapse our economies. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. And what major corporations want in this development is to be able to have full movement of workers without borders or boundaries, to be able to move their goods through without regulations, and to reduce wages. And so this is the goal. So this is what you find with social equity. And of course, economy and ecology is about, these are the 3 circles: economy, ecology, and social equity. And where they meet in the center is balance. But really that balance is a communitarian balance. So it's not balance of well-being of the people. What it is it's a balance for corporations so that they can exploit and control and have populations in an area, in tightly packed, dense areas, so that they can be surveilled and managed. And this is what that balance looks like as far as the development of a totalitarian state is. The mainstream media is owned by 5 major corporations, and you're not going to get this information from the mainstream press. So you need to be your own press. You need to educate yourself. You need to get out there and educate your neighbors, your community, your real community. You need to help your children understand that they're being indoctrinated from pre-kindergarten to postgraduate school. All of us have a responsibility to ourselves and to others. This is true community, to work for personal freedom. And always remember that even though we work as a group, if we do work as a group, we're all individuals in those groups, and we answer only to ourselves. And this is essential. It's essential as free human beings. This is what we are. We are free, and we need to continue to be free. And I do believe that we will win, but we have to become aware that there is a fight, and then make our friends and our neighbors and our community aware as well, and work together.
Fantastic breakdown. An absolutely fantastic breakdown of Agenda 21. Because she's right. 179 nations signed on to it. And this is what we've been dealing with, just the slow implementation of it. And did you notice that word she kept using, the balance and that harmony of corporations, the balance of corporations, the communitarian balance? And is this not what we're seeing? Are we not seeing the rise of DEI, of ESG, environmental, social governance scores for corporations, where you see the same message being propagated? We got a video clip coming up later on about the very same thing. You're seeing the talking points come out. You're seeing the talking points come out of Joy Behar and Governor J.B. Pritzker. You're seeing the same thing come out of Harry Sisson and other individuals who are reading from a script. It's a top-down, totalitarian, technocratic takeover. That's what we've been dealing with for years. For years. Economy, ecology, and social equity. And again, it's a slow implementation. It's been going on for some time. And that's why when we're here now, when we're in the year 2025, we're past the 21. It's for the agenda for the 21st century. There's Agenda 2032. And that's why you hear everybody talking about trying to get this stuff done as quick as they can before 2030. Again, having a one world government system where there's no regulations. It's a centralized unit. And that's why Trump going to the United Nations just a couple of weeks ago and saying globalism has failed is so monumental, because this has been going on for years. We got hip to it, and then we started fighting, period. We became our own press. We started educating people. We started doing the groundwork. We went out to protests. We got into skirmishes. We realized some of those things were setups. And that's why things right now are so intense, because it's all unfolding. And they have a small window. Just because Trump's in there, that doesn't mean they've backed off. That's, if anything, given them a focal point to concentrate their hate, concentrate their movement, concentrate their actions around. And again, you've seen this synchronization, this harmony between all of our enemies. And it is biblical, because we're seeing peace literally be removed from America. And as the truth comes out, as people pointed out, it gets darker and darker. But focusing still on this, just so we can stay tied to the intro of this segment, where we're talking about capturing Earth's resources to set up space-based living. This is why you hear people like Yuval Noah Harari say, what are we going to do with all these useless people? Because once they capture all the resources and they set up this communitarian, balanced, technocratic system, you're already hearing them say, we need to feed it into AI. And this is, again, going to give you your governance score, your social credit score system. This is biblical. That's why they're forcing out the digital ID, to tell people that you will obey. And they're destroying the environment. They're wrecking it. They're doing all this, that, and the third. And again, it's methodical. It's systematic. Very well organized. Because of what the intention is. It's to create this global governance system. You hear Antifa say, no borders, no walls, no USA at all. What is that about? Where do you think that comes from? You see, we've got an article later on about a literal organ harvester that got captured, and he's got like all kinds of connections to like the mob and sketchy stuff. And these are the type of people that are coming through. But I'm digressing. I'm ranting. We need to stay focused on this. They are creating a global government. They are creating a new world order. They are creating the biblical mark of the beast. They are creating the beast system. And it is happening right now. And we've got 15 plus seasons of kind of looking at it in the shadows, like, these people need to admit who they are. About 5 years ago is when they took the mask off, or 4 years really. And they've been locking in ever since. And that's why it's been intensifying. And so it's not a time frame of like, hey, we need to get this information out here. We need to understand that it's happening now. And we need to make different moves. We need to handle things differently. We need a lot of this stuff to unfold and to take place, because we can't just have like another 15 years of ambiguity. Otherwise, they will implement it. And this is why they're racing like the Dickens to get a chip inside of you. This is why they're racing like the Dickens to roll out more and more propaganda. They're making their move. You see, let's go ahead and continue to get through this segment so we can go ahead and close it out. We've got a lot more to talk to. Here's Jeff Bezos talking about space centers, data centers in space.
The moon here in just a few years, and also very exciting. It's hydrogen powered. We developed being 20-degree Kelvin, very, very cold, 20 degrees above absolute zero, 20-degree Kelvin electric powered, solar powered cryo coolers, so that we can keep liquid hydrogen liquid and have it be a storable propellant in space. This is very hard to do. We already have made amazing progress on it, because hydrogen is the highest performing fuel for rocketry, for space travel, but it has this problem that it has to be kept so cold that historically it hasn't been able to be used on deep space missions because it just boils away. So we're solving that problem, making hydrogen a storable fuel. We are doing R&D into how to build solar cells from lunar regolith on the surface of the moon. Because if you're going to go to the moon and stay on the moon, you need to be using the resources of the moon. You need to be harvesting the moon to make that cost effective.
So the moon will be a launch pad.
The moon is a gift from the universe. It's so close to Earth. It's only 3.5 days away. We can launch and get to the moon anytime. Unfortunately, to get to other planetary bodies, they have very rare launch windows. Mars, you can go to Mars once every 26 months or so. And so The moon is really a gift, and it has a very low gravitational field, only 1/6 of Earth's, which means it takes about 30 times less energy to lift a kilogram of mass off the moon than it does to lift it off the Earth. So we can use the moon as a rocket fuel depot to go to the rest of the solar system. One of the things that's going to happen in the next, it's hard to know exactly when, it's 10 plus years, but I bet it's not more than 20 years. We're going to start building these giant gigawatt data centers in space. So these giant training clusters, those will be better built in space because we have solar power there 24/7. And the solar power there are no clouds and no rain, no weather. So you can build, we will be able to beat the cost of terrestrial data centers in space in the next couple of decades. And so space will end up being one of the places that keeps making Earth better. It already has happened with weather satellites. It's already happened with communication satellites. The next step is going to be data centers and then other kinds of manufacturing.
And will we be able to travel on Earth faster?
Yeah, I think lunar lander that is going to land on the moon
Pretty crazy,
here
right?
in just a few years.
Pretty crazy, right? In a jaw-dropping vision of the future, Amazon founder and executive chair Jeff Bezos predicted that, quote, gigawatt-scale data centers will be built in space within the next 10 to 20 years, powered by endless solar energy, and they'll eventually outperform their Earthbound counterparts. Do you think you'll be there? You think you'll be on the spaceship? Do you think humans will be operating these gigawatt facilities, or will they just be able to run code and have it up there? And so we just gradually get to talk more and more about not necessarily the breakaway civilization, but the future of humanity, so to speak. What visions these people have. Again, we've been talking more and more about that this season. Space-based operations, directed energy weapons, satellites capable of beaming down lasers, right? But if anything, that's old technology. You really got to think about how advanced things are. And when we talk about the breakaway civilization, deep space projects, globalism, literally people that have so much, it's not even about the money. They've created like space nations. We've talked about Asgardia in the past on this show, how they are the first space nation. It's a real thing. You can go sign up, you can get a passport, you can participate in their events. Remember earlier this year when Katy Perry was hanging out with Jeff Bezos, and they launched that little rocket into space, quote unquote space, and it was totally like a whole PR stunt. But you have to think about what we just got done talking about, moving vast swaths of the population to populated areas, to centralized areas, leaving other parts of the world completely open. Alien. You kind of catch my drift? But then you actually have individuals who are operating satellites and space stations and things like that. That's what the super rich people get to talk about. That's why you have people like Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin talking about life extension. But for us, no, we're slated for poverty and austerity. We're slated for having corporations taking over your power companies. We're slated for corporations taking over like your environment. And this is what they're going to do. They're just going to blast off into space, set up space centers, set up deep underground military bases, and just jack with us over here on the surface. And so there's just this weird reality that we see unfolding. And you could call it like a societal breakdown. You could call it like a dystopian sci-fi future. You could call it the New World Order, neo-feudalism. It's all of these things all at the same time. But again, who do you think is going to be operating these data centers in space? Robots? Humans? Terrans or spacelings? And we have to ask that question, like, is it going to be actual humans? Because we're learning now, due to the genetic experiment that a fair amount of the population underwent, that they're still? Are these naturally born humans? Were they grown for this specific purpose? Do we have people that can survive in space conditions for extended periods of time? These are all the questions that are going to be asked in the future. Should we modify humans for space? But it starts with the data centers, because right now a lot of people are using too much energy communicating with the chat bots and the AI and doing this, that, and the third. And remember, that's what Trump said. We've got to get our energy production back up because of things like that, because people are becoming more and more reliant on AI, creating that synthetic intelligence and enabling more of their cognitive bankruptcy. You see, check this out. Scientists believe that humanity may achieve singularity by the end of 2025. It says, in the rapidly evolving world of artificial intelligence, predictions about when machines will surpass human intelligence, the so-called singularity, vary widely. A recent analysis by AI Multiple, which examined over 8,500 predictions from scientists, entrepreneurs, and community members, sheds light on these timelines and how they've shifted with recent advancements. It says the study reveals a consensus that artificial general intelligence, a precursor to the singularity, is likely to emerge before the end of the 21st century. It says, however, industry leaders are more optimistic, with some suggesting it could happen much sooner. For instance, the CEO of Anthropic has boldly predicted that AI could outsmart humans, or most humans, as soon as 2026, quipping to give it, quote, about 3 more months or so. The arrival of large language models like ChatGPT has dramatically accelerated these predictions. According to the AI Multiple report, quote, current surveys of AI researchers are predicting AGI around 2040. However, just a few years before the rapid advancements in large language models, scientists were predicting it around 2060. Entrepreneurs are even more bullish, predicting it around 2030. Quote, apparently that was the end of quote. It says that this shift underscores how breakthroughs in AI technology have compressed expected timelines. Again, that compression is what I'm talking about when I say the event horizon. We are in such a monumental time of change. A lot of things that would take a couple of years to play out are just happening at an exponential rate. Jumping back in the article, it says that experts attribute this inevitability to the boundless potential of the machine intelligence, unconstrained by biological limits. Moore's law, which posits that computing power doubles approximately every 18 months, plays a key role. It says, yet, as the report notes, quote, most experts believe that Moore's law is coming to an end during this decade. To overcome this, quantum computing could step in, offering new ways to train neural networks and potentially unlock the singularity. So I ask you the question again, who do you think is going to be on the moon? Do you think it's going to be humans that are operating these data centers? Will it be transhumans, right? Will they only require individuals that are able to interface with the technology? Will we have people that take the chips? You see, that say, you know what? I don't want to have a normal human brain. I want to link up with what Elon Musk says. Do you think we'll hear from him in the next 3 to 4 months or so? Do you think we'll hear him talk about the neural link, implants, hooking people up, and saying, you know, this is this mind virus that people have succumbed to that has them burning Tesla facilities and cars and shooting ICE officers and practicing witchcraft on the street. This is all a part of the mind virus. We can fix them if they take the brain chip. Do you think people will take it? Do you think they'll want to cure their Trump derangement syndrome with a brain chip? And then what happens? What happens if they do take it? Will they have achieved singularity? These things and more are what's in the future. Let's go ahead and move forward to David Sachs talking about woke AI. So if we're talking about AI, we're talking about large language models, the singularity, synthetic intelligence, right? Cognitive bankruptcy, and ultimately them trying to hook us up to the grid. Could you imagine being subjected to nothing but woke social equity, social justice nonsense? Let's listen.
To do, so they're just making things up.
Or
Now,
what the risks are. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get.
just let me give you some stats on this regulatory frenzy that's happening. So all 50 states have introduced AI bills in 2025. There's been over 1,000 bills in state legislatures. 118 AI laws have already been passed across the 50 states. The red state proposals for AI in general have a lighter touch than the blue states, but everyone just seems to be motivated by the imperative to do something on AI, even though no one's really sure what that something should be.
Exactly.
And there's no real agreement on like what all these AI regulations are supposed to do. So they're just making things up.
Or
Now,
what the risks are.
or
Yeah,
the
that's
risks
what I'm
are.
trying to get at. So, Sax, let me ask you a specific question.
Yeah,
though.
well, I was going to finish the point about California.
Okay.
So look, California, they've kind of gotten to this point where now it's about reporting on all these safety risks. And if this is all it was, then it would just be basically a bunch of red tape and it wouldn't be so bad. The problem is that you've got to multiply this by 50 states. So you've got 50 different states, each with their own reporting regime, which is going to be a trap for startups. They've all got to figure this out about what they're supposed to report on, what the deadlines are, who to report to. I mean, this is like very European style regulations, actually maybe even worse than the EU, because the EU tried to basically harmonize to get to one authority. We're going to have 50, they're going to have one. But the other problem is that this is just the camel's nose under the tent. So even in California, Scott Wiener, who's the legislator who did SB 1047, now he did this, he's got a block of legislators and they have 17 more AI regulation bills that they want to pass. So this is just the beginning. And if you want to see where this is going, okay, look at Colorado. We should talk about this Colorado bill because this has already been passed into law. And it's called SB 24-205, Consumer Protections for Artificial Intelligence. It was passed all the way in May of 2024. So it was one of the first to pass, even though they didn't really know what they were trying to regulate. No one's quite sure how to implement it. But what the law does is it bans something they call algorithmic discrimination, okay? And algorithmic discrimination is defined as unlawful, differential treatment, or disparate impact based on protected characteristics. So things like age, race, sex, disability. If any of those factors drive an AI decision and it results in a disparate impact, then both the developer of the AI model and the deployer, which means basically the business that's using it, can be in violation of this law, and they can be prosecuted by the Colorado Attorney General. Let me give you a practical application here.
Please.
So let's say that you got someone like a mortgage loan officer who's reviewing applications, okay? And let's say they don't even discuss race. It's not on the form, okay? They're just using race neutral criteria like a credit rating or financial holdings, something like that. If the result of their decision nevertheless had a disparate impact on a particular protected group, its decisions could be found to be discriminatory. And moreover, the developer of that model could be liable, even though their model just gave an answer that under the circumstances was truthful. The only way that I see for model developers to comply with this law is to build in a new DEI layer into the models to basically somehow prevent models from giving outputs that might have a disparate impact on protected groups. So we're back to woke AI again. And I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this Colorado law.
Woke AI, I can't help but think, how does that tie into, like, I hear these people speak and I hear all the things they're saying, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, oh, this is just how you get to pre-crime. Unlawful discrimination with woke AI, where you have to have like 50 states that have to be in harmony. Think about that. That's how you get to pre-crime, right? Well, then it starts with, oh, this is woke. Now we get the anti-woke AI. You get Grok, you get Brighteon's AI. You get these different type of so-called truth-based AIs, and then all of a sudden, you have a system that's able to judge and detect people. And the same way that we have like a supranational treaty with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, you have this just like agreement between the technocrats to deploy technology that engineers society to behave a certain way. Yeah, this is how you get to pre-crime. This is how you get to social credit score. This is how you get to what Project Gideon. What was that contractor talking about, working with Israeli individuals to come up with pre-crime software to where they could algorithmically scan your entire like social media profile to determine what type of individual you are, whether or not you're a threat. This is where we're going. And I'm sure you're wondering, like, how do we get from talking about the environment, space-based individuals, to the social credit score system and, woke AI? They're all one and the same. This is what Gavin Newsom was talking about. We've got to build back with science and climate in mind. You see? So that's again more of like the DEI, more of the tenets of Agenda 21. That's the economy, the ecology, and the social equity all mixed into one. And it's being dictated by these people on down. You see, like, it's a very, very sophisticated system, and that's what we're gradually rolling into. Woke AI. I've got a couple more things, and then I'm going to go ahead and begin to close out this segment. But the simulation whistleblower, how the government erased Philip K. Dick for exposing reality's big secret. Another one by Baxter Dimitri from the People's Voice. They put this up October 9th. It says, before the Mandela effect, before the, quote, Matrix, Philip K. Dick warned that reality was being rewritten. The government made him disappear from the narrative. In 1977, science fiction author Philip K. Dick stood before an audience in Metz, France, and said something that cracked the code of time and would reverberate decades into the future. We are living in a computer-programmed reality. It was decades before Elon Musk and Silicon Valley philosophers began pondering the simulation hypothesis, and long before the internet gave birth to the Mandela effect. But Dick's vision wasn't taken as harmless speculation. The U.S. intelligence community has dangerous, quote, ideas about simulated worlds, hidden control systems, and reality manipulation may have cut too close to the bone. And before I play this, because again, we're talking about how they're capturing the resources to set up space-based living, we do live in a reality. We do live in an artificial reality. That's why it has to come from consent. We have to agree to live in this way. And that's why, again, at the start of the show, I said it's important that all this stuff happens. We need these things to take place. And reality is a bit of it is programmable. Let me start this real quick. It is programmable because of the energy that we put off, the things that we say. It talks about this in the Bible, how we are master builders. And if you look into all these other ancient religions, they're basically saying the very same thing, that this is not our home. That, yeah, we have a body. Yeah, we occupy this. Yeah, this, that, and the third. But reality is not what we think it is. And the same way you've been hearing me talk about them creating this new world order, this technocracy, right? How they want to capture people's minds and do all of this. It comes from consent. It comes from them building it. It comes from us participating in it, right? Being these agents, being the people that project these thoughts, project this energy, and create, again, more of this narrative. We don't have people like that's the crazy thing. We need more people talking about like a pro-human, Renaissance-based, divinity-inspired future. We don't have that. And I guess some of it could be talked or attributed to when we talk about space. But even then, we already know that the machines are going to go to space. Humans aren't going to go to space. And so I'll say this and pull back and try to segue this proper. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And this three-dimensional construct in which we live in is a psychic projection of the spiritual world in which we all inhabit. Philip K. Dick talking about the simulation theory is just that. Reality is programmable to a degree. We can manifest things, but our powers of manifestation and creation have been hijacked, taken over by these dark and malevolent forces that you hear me talk about every single week. The scientific Satanists, the actual Satanists, that magic to a degree is real, but that's not in the context in which we think. You see, I'll say this and I'll go ahead and play the clip. Like, this is honestly why, this is why I have to do a new show and why I have to do like a completely different configuration, because of where we're at right now. The political stuff is very important. What's happening is very important. But what's even more important is people's understanding of themselves. And I talked about this like last season and in season 13 as well. how because we're going into this event horizon, this time of like maximum change, the shifting between the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, people are waking up. People are seeing things differently. And you hear me kind of rant about it, how we're tied into like a different knowledge base, how people get information from God, and how there's like the scientific Satanists and the signature of Satan all over the place, and how they don't get that information. They don't have the knowing, but they have to have intelligence networks. People are being tied in, looking for God, understanding the truth, and realizing this is all one big scam. And the people who are in control are doing everything they can to try to put people deeper into the spell, doubling down. This is why COVID was such a big thing, because of the cognitive difference that we're feeling. And you can feel it, the shift. And these people are trying to take it over. They're trying to control this time period that we're going into. That's meant to be of maximum change. We're not meant to be out there like fighting and shooting and destroying each other. We're meant to be realizing that this is a false reality matrix construct that they've created and that we've agreed to be in. That's why the jig is up. And that's why they know their time is short as well. And they're going to burn this thing to the ground and start something completely new. That's what I'm saying, bro. We need to do a completely different show, or we need to set aside time to talk about, again, the very spiritual, cosmic, and conscious things that are unfolding. Because if not, we're going to fall for the plays. We're going to fall for the things they're doing, and they're going to capture our consciousness. Like, I bet you think you're supposed to be out there fighting some radical-haired Antifa individual. And I bet that radical-haired Antifa individual thinks that they should destroy you and your family because you're a white supremacist and all this nonsense. This is not the time frame we're supposed to be in. That's a false lie. That's a false timeline. We're supposed to be in a completely different time frame. Anyway, I'm ranting. I'm raving. I'll say this and I'll play the video clip. We are living in a false reality. We are living in a simulation. I believe in the holographic universe. I believe in the simulation theory. I did Building the Matrix. These people are trying to create a matrix on top of the matrix. You see, it's like when, It's like when people were talking about some of the side effects of the COVID shot. I reference this all the time. People were saying that they couldn't conduct transcendental meditation anymore, that they could not get themselves out of their bodies. And this is me saying we are spiritual entities having a physical experience. We already live in a matrix. These people want to lock us inside of another matrix and give you the metaverse and brain chips and all this other stuff. A matrix inside of a matrix. It's like an inception, a deception inception. We already live in a simulation. Let me play this so we can go ahead and move the show on and cut this segment out.
It's okay. It's okay. The subject of this speech is a topic which has been discovered recently and which may not exist at all. I may be talking about something that does not exist. Therefore, I'm free to say everything or nothing. I, in my stories and novels, often write about counterfeit worlds, semi-real worlds, as well as deranged private worlds, inhabited often by just one person, while meantime the other characters either remain in their own worlds throughout or are somehow drawn into one of the peculiar ones. This theme occurs in the corpus of my 27 years of writing. At no time did I have a theoretical or conscious explanation for my preoccupation with these pluriform pseudo-worlds, but now I think I understand. What I was sensing was the manifold of partially actualized realities lying tangent to what evidently is the most actualized one, the one which the majority of us, by consensus gentium, agree on. Later that day, back home again, but still deeply under the influence of the sodium pentothal, I had a short, acute flash of recovered memory. Then in mid-March, a month later, the total body of memories, intact and entire, began to return. You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, But please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance. At that time, I had no idea what I was seeing. It resembled nothing that I had ever heard described. It resembled plasmic energy. It had colors. It moved fast. It collected and then dispersed. But what it was, what he was, I am not sure even now. In other words, it's a common theme in my writing that a dark-haired girl shows up at the door of the protagonist and tells him that his world is delusional, that there's something false about it. Well, this did finally happen to me. I even knew that her hair would be black. I had an actual complete sense of what she would look like and what she would say. She did appear, she was a total stranger, and she did inform me of this fact, that some of my fictional works were in a literal sense true. I wrote out these dreams in novel after novel, story after story. To name two in which this prior ugly present obtained most clearly, I cite The Man in the High Castle and my 1974 novel about the U.S. as a police state called Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. I'm going to be very candid with you. I wrote both novels based on fragmentary residual memories of such a horrid slave state world. People claim to remember past lives. I claim to remember a different, very different present life. I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I'm willing to talk about it. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.
Powerful. And hey man, I think he's absolutely correct. You know, and to that point, because I don't want to really, so I'm saying I just need to do a completely different segment where we talk about this type of stuff. It's wild. He's talking about the computer programmed reality, the simulation hypothesis. There's a lot of different things there. That's why you saw me getting all excited talking about it. One of the things I'm talking about, or at least one of the things I'd like to just kind of underscore here, is what I was referencing in previous videos with the work of Jason Brashears of Archaics, the advanced research of the chronological existence of AIX, the computer programmed reality. I am becoming very quickly a deep believer that we have like a form of ancient intelligence, whether it's, Satan, whether it is like actual AI or some off-world entity that crash landed here and has just got such advanced tech, like intelligence and technology, it's able to control things and influence things without being seen. I'm becoming very quickly a believer in this. So when we talk about a computer program reality, what did he talk about at the very end there? Changing a variable in the background that shifts everything entirely. And have you noticed that that's kind of what society feels like right now? That the switch has been flipped, something's happened, and just the chaos is on. But again, an ancient artificial form of intelligence controlling society. And now that we've got social media and something in our hand that can literally send out signals to reprogram us at a moment's notice, it has now gripped a vast amount of the population. And think about what that means, because we didn't always have social media, you see, and that's like just becoming like a weird theme of the season, or at least of this episode so far. How much of an impact social media has had. Have we had this type of influence globally in the past? what forms of reality are we participating in? So I think Philip K. Dick is absolutely correct. I think we live in a simulated reality, a programmable reality. I think we live in a holographic matrix. I think that we are much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. The controlling elites have been aware of this, that we would reach a point of not necessarily critical mass, but consciousness awareness, to where we would try to break off from this, and they would do everything in their power, again, to keep the blinders on, to keep the spell going. Again, like, think about when this stuff came out. Right around like 2012, that's when they said, like, oh, the end of the world is going to happen. The Mayan calendar. It wasn't the end of the world. It was the end of an age. We understand that now. And look at the advent of technology since then. Look at how much has come out. MySpace is defunct. Vine has come back and died. Look at Instagram. Look at TikTok. And look at now the governments fighting over social media because of what we all know, the influence it has on individuals. Look at how much has happened. And if you don't think that we live in a computer programmed reality, watch Donald Trump tweet something. Who told Donald Trump to tweet that? Is that him tweeting? Does he just have a bot running something that sounds like he would tweet? You don't think we live in a computer programmed reality? How do you create something as sophisticated as this? This is not the workings in the minds of man. You don't think we live in a computer programmed reality? Let these people get digital ID. Let these people install the social credit score system. Let these people build the matrix. We will have a computer programmed reality that people won't be able to astral project out of, bliss out from, check out from. And ultimately, like, what I'm talking about in a weird way with this show and in context to this is how they knew that we were going through this time of monumental change, and they're doing everything they can to try to trap and anchor our consciousnesses to this world that they want to create. And that's why it feels like a nightmarish hellscape, because how do we get out of this? Where does this go? What does this look like on the long term? You see? And so for my final video for the intro of this episode, I want to play this video clip of Tim Burchett talking about how there are 5, and I think this is crazy. This isn't the clip of him walking down the street. This is him saying there are up to 5 hidden UFO bases off of the U.S. coastline. Let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll wrap it up on the other side. 5 UFO bases.
Received intelligence that suggests that there are perhaps deep water alien bases right now sitting on the ocean floor on this planet. Is that accurate?
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Can you go into more detail? How long have they been here? Where are they?
Well, I'm extrapolating all this with my East Tennessee vernacular. So we've got five or six deep water areas of our oceans. We actually know more about the surface of the moon than we do about these areas. And these are areas where we have a high frequency of UFO or UAP sightings. We've had naval folks have told me pretty high up that they've actually tracked these things. Now, we have stuff that can go underwater probably 30 to 40 miles an hour, maybe something a little faster that the Chinese haven't stole from us yet. And we've tracked things big as a football field going 200 miles an hour. Now, I realize in the water, you extrapolate that to knots and all that, but just for good old East Tennessee common sense, 200 miles an hour, something the size of a football field. And we don't know what it is. And these are in these areas. So yeah, there's something going on there. And whether it's something that's been here for millennial or whatever, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm kind of like Dr. Loeb. I love to study this kind of stuff. It's the scientific material there he's the one that disclosed some things that were found that were extraterrestrial.
You received intelligence that suggests
200 feet, or it's the size of a football field, and it's going 200 miles an hour. What built that? Did man build that? Did ancient advanced AI build that? Like I'm trying to tell you, I don't think it's aliens from Galaxy S9. What did Catherine Austin Fitts say as well? They have been able to discover that there's over 170 deep underground military bases. You've got Elon Musk with his boring tunnel company. You've got Mark Zuckerberg building bunkers as well. What's going on underground? How deep underground have we gone? What is that? And they've been able to locate at least 5 different quote unquote bases. What is that? How long have these people been operating there? Have they taken humans there? Do they have robots? What does their technology look like? Are these humans? Are these advanced humans? Are these ancient humans? These are the crypto-terrestrials. Oh, but don't worry, Jeff Bezos is going to build data centers in space. Where do you think he got that idea from? And so you have to really think about what these different factions are, what's really going on, and how we really have no idea. But they're telling us we should be mad at the illegals, we should be mad at the Antifa, we should be mad at Trump. It's like these people are actors. This is the stage props. There are so many other crazy things going on right now that they've got to do everything they can to keep you focused on this, because this is ending, right? The scam is ending. This is revelation. You can see things differently now. More people are awake. They want to pay attention. They want to understand. Something the size of a football field going 200 miles an hour. We have no idea what it is. Who built that? How many more are they? Where are they going? How long have you been tracking them? The questions are endless. Endless. We've already been invaded if that's the case. And if anything, there would be no reason to invade us because there's nothing that we could do to actually stop it. And so what's wild is, like, I was listening to just a random video on Coast to Coast about this dude who said he was talking to a time traveler, and this isn't that type of thing, but he was just describing again how there's multiple different groups of people operating here on Earth, how there are transhumans, how there are potentially different entities from different phases. There are people from underground, and they look just like us. And and if they were alien in 2025, would we even know? Would we even care? Again, we've got blue-haired, rainbow-haired individuals with piercings and body augmentations all over the place. If we were to be invaded by aliens, how could we tell who was human? And so I'm going off on a jag, but what I'm ultimately trying to say is we need to understand how much crazier things are going to get from here. And when we talk about BlackRock and corporations capturing the resources so they can go blast off into space, we're about to see some pretty wild stuff over here on the planet. Another going theory when looking at chemtrails and geoengineering is that has to do with phase shifting, density, that they've been blocking stuff out in the sky. Sometimes you get to see like literal floating cities on clear days. You can go find them on YouTube. Just various floating cities in the sky. And it looks crazy. And this is before AI, right? But because they have different cloaking mechanisms, they understand the light spectrum technology, they can just cover things up. We have no idea how mystical, magical, and crazy this world is. And that's why they, again, want to lock you into that false reality matrix that they can program you in, that they can design. You see, again, that is that computer programmed reality. That is the false reality. You see, but again, really try to picture that. Something that is the size of a football field hurtling through the sky at 200 miles an hour, and we have no idea what it is. Absolutely crazy. But don't worry, we're going to get a lot crazier in this episode and more. Again, this is just the intro, capturing Earth's resources to set up space-based living. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting into Candace Owens revealing some very strange texts from Charlie Kirk about his relationship with Jewish donors. We're also going to be talking about J.B. Pritzker, what's going on over there in Chicago, the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, Antifa, and so much more. We've got political eruption on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom, and we'll be right back right after this.
The young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble leaders of the world economic. We penetrate the cabinets.
The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset.
So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.